Welcome everyone to episode 20 of the Exoskeletons and Wearable Robotics podcast. We have a super special guest today. We have with us the Blue Eye Queen, aka Melissa DiVierti. Hi there.
Hi, GM guys. Thanks for having me. This is super fun. I'm excited to see what we're doing today.
I'm excited. I think we'll have a lot to talk about medical exoskeletons, their usefulness, and their aesthetics, and what we can do about that. Before we get started, as usual, special shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. As of recording this is our VIP tier supporters Volker Bartenbach, Rita Vasquez Torres, and Min Mar, and our corporate tier level sponsors Humotech, Oxivo, HeroWare, and DGT. Thank you all for both the financial and the moral support. We have today with us Melissa, who is both an influencer, an artist, recently gotten to work at the Shirley Ryan Rehabilitation Center with an exoskeleton. So we are super excited to have you on the podcast because this is our very first podcast with an exoskeleton user. And we are really eager to learn about your experience and your thoughts.
Awesome. I promise I'll be the best first person.
We'll hold you to that. So can you describe to us like your journey? How did you discover the Shirley Ryan Rehabilitation Center in the first place? What brought you there?
Sure, absolutely. That's a great question. And to give some of our audience a little backstory on why I'm a user, I'm a person that was born with missing sacrum. So I have sacral agenesis. So I move around. I have a scooter, a wheelchair. I use crutches, all types of advanced equipment. I like to try it out and test it. And I've been following the exoskeleton suits for about 10 years. I was first introduced with the Hale, with this HAL, which is the Japanese. This is Oreo. She wants to say hi real quick. She's got to say hi, right? Hi, Oreo. She's my service animal. She sits in some of the mobility devices that I try out. And so I started doing my research with exoskeletons, and I'm a woman that's a petite. I'm a smaller stature. So I was getting a lot of no's, like, no, you can't try this technology because we don't have anything that's going to fit your height and your weight. So I always like to say it's no, not now. So I'm like, please just keep me on the list. Things are going to develop. So over the course of the years, other brands and companies and robotics departments were expanding this. And so I was in touch with a gentleman named Ray Brown, and he is the founder of Biomotum. And it's I love you too, baby. And it's an exoskeleton suit for individuals that have cerebral palsy, which is like muscles and the tension here. And my disease is the bones. And so my bones are deteriorating. So I was like, hey, let me give this a shot. Let me give it a try. I think I could still be able to fit this picture of a consumer that you're looking for. So at the time I was living in South America, I was in Colombia. So I was living in Medellin. So I flew from Colombia to Miami. My sister had my car. I drive a Mustang. So I took my Mustang and I drove it all the way up to Detroit. And then I took a train with my last service animal to Chicago, and I met the entire team at Shirley Ryan Labs. And it was amazing. And it was all through emailing and reaching out and just informing people, this is what my journey is. I'd love to give it a chance. And they welcomed me with open arms, and they showed me every single floor of their facility, and it's massive. They've got some of the biggest machines that I've ever seen. They're helping people that have situations that are more hard than mine. Like, everybody has their own obstacles, but they had more limitations than I did. So I found that was truly inspiring to see that going to form.
Oh, yeah, we've heard about it. I've never been there. Doc, have you been to the Chicago Center?
Yeah, I've been there about 2 or 3 times. I was just there, a couple months ago. We were working on a mobility project with a guy named Rob and Arun, and they have 3 floors, and it overlooks like it overlooks the water. And what would that be? Would it be, I guess, the Lake
Lake Michigan.
Michigan. Okay, so go
Yeah.
to Lake Michigan. It's really, really nice. I mean, you just sit there and you're doing your rehab looking out into the lake. It's tremendous, actually. It's a really beautiful facility. Sure is.
So, Melissa, I'm assuming that you got to work with the Biomotum, which is a powered ankle exoskeleton.
Yep, that was the one.
How was that?
So they first showed me a tour of all of the exoskeleton suits that they had. So they put me into this room that they presented me with these big robotic machines, and they gave me kind of a breakdown. Here's where it used to be. And then we walked through and we started talking about the technology and we started holding everything. And there was like heavy, these big pieces of just everything, all this structure that was going on. And I was like, wow, I'm going to just be vulnerable here and say my height and my weight because I could never wear one of those suits. I'm 4'7" and I'm less than 90 pounds. So wearing a suit that's like the size of your weight wouldn't be acceptable for me because it would just be so hard. So then they showed me the Biomotum suit, which is this really cool. It looks kind of like a jetpack, but it's not. It's just this big battery power pack, and it goes on your back, and they strap you up, and they put these like suspenders over you. So I'm like ready to go. I've got these suspenders on, and then there's these like small clear purple tubes that go all the way down your legs with the foot plate. And I thought that that was aesthetically clean compared to these monster RoboCop looking suits. Like, I don't want to go out looking like that. I want to, look a little low key. And, you could essentially, depending on getting it customized, because it was still too tall for me. They said it was built for a 10-year-old and I'm 36. And so I was like, well, shoot, 10-year-olds are taller than me. All right, that's fine. We got to find something smaller then, So the suiting didn't fit me, but the technology, I was able to understand it. So as I put it on, this little foot plate thing goes underneath your shoe. So you got these things that kind of make it feel like you're bouncing a little bit. And so I've never worn this before. I've never had this idea of doing it. So the person that helped me, because I was feeling anxious, she put her hand behind where the battery jetpack, it's like this big thing, looks like it's about to blast off. And she kind of held me the whole way just so that I could get myself kind of working that. And so she had an iPad in her hand, which is the AI technology, and it had like my biometrics on it. And they all knew I was coming. And so everyone's kind of watching and crowding around and just like really interested in this like journey that I did across the world to try this technology. Like, who's this person that just traveled thousands of miles to be here? So everyone was like, here, let's adjust this, let's adjust that. And so we spent hours just going, up and down and trying this technology. But to my understanding, not everybody gets to use it. So I had to sign this like document that said, if something happens to you, we're not liable. And I was okay with that. And that was what I had said when I reached out, is the only way to advance ourselves in this mobility technology is to trying it. And with my disability and my disease, I've tried a lot of research surgeries, and now other people are doing those. And so I think that divine intervention, God is going to ultimately decide when it's my time. I want to be able to use something that I can perhaps improve what I'm doing every day, help me be able to get around better, but then also be an opportunity for the future of others like me. So I was really geeked out. I took a bunch of videos and I edited them up and I shared with my friends, and they were just like, whoa, how do we get this for you? How can we build something like this for you? And so those are kind of my next steps on trying to figure out how to do that avenue, since it was too big for me. But as I was moving in it, I could feel the technology moving me like very gracefully, like kind of like a sway. There were some times where the foot plate would kind of, I don't want to say malfunction, but it would malfunction and it would like twitch. And so my feet are club feet, so they don't bend. So that can be kind of a con, because if your feet don't bend and this thing is trying to bend your feet, that could possibly hurt me. But we were like, no, let's continue. So we continued chomping down with this thing. And it was really inspiring. Everyone was just glowing and they were like really invested in, having me try different things. We took breaks, we adjusted the iPad. And I just thought it was one of those moments that I'm never going to forget because I was able to feel what it feels like for able-bodied persons to be able to take a walk. But after training and after practicing with it, I'm sure I'll be like amazing in it. But just that one, span of a couple hours, I was like, this is something that we need to get into the hands of people who are disabled, and whether that's an accident or something later in life, this, or even just like myself, born with it. I could see this gap closing where we don't have to be confined into these limitations of a wheelchair or crutches, where we can still do the day-to-day stuff like able-bodied person. So I hope that answered your question. And I know it was a little bit long-winded.
No, it's fantastic. I had a couple questions I was thinking about is, do you think it could help you walk more or walk further? Like give us some of it might not be perfect right now, but what would be some of the goals or the advantages? Like what would be some of the things like, wow, if you could do this, this, and this, I'd love it. You know what I mean? Like, is it, I'd just like to walk 20 steps across the kitchen, or is it, no, if I could put it on and walk, around the block, then I come back home, relax, catch my breath, that kind of thing. Like what would be, what's some of the, because you said, hey, it's starting to help me feel like I can walk. Could you expand on that a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, some examples, like some dreams that I already have is, when you are in a chair, you're kind of at a lower level than the rest of the world. You're like at the level of the table. And that's really hard to do, like basic needs at my house, like chores or washing the dishes or doing my laundry. I think that I could use this in my home so that I can be up and I could be standing and I could be moving around my house and doing tasks that are difficult for me when I'm at a lower range. I find that that would be like an enormous goal for me, is to be able to feel my independence and be able to not feel like I'm, having to do, extra layers and extra things with this other stuff. The exoskeleton suit could give me that feeling of empowerment to knock out some of those day to day. But I also would like to use it in a way of like, networking or something. Like I'm at a networking event, same thing. People don't see that line of sight when you are in this area. So if I'm up and I'm facing people and I'm at kind of this other level, to me, it would just kind of open up a whole new perception. Like, yes, I am a person. Yes, I have a difference, but I'm using this amazing mobility technology, whether that's, I actually go 4 miles every day in my chair in the morning. And that's why I'm so strong. That's how I stay fit. I think that over time I could switch over to the suit so that I am starting to exercise other parts of my body, because when you're not using your legs, those pieces that's going to be over time deteriorating. So I feel like one of the things is maybe half the day in the chair and half the day in the suit. And to me, that would make fulfillment. That would fulfill me.
Did you ever try, or I guess that's what you were saying, they're just too big and bulky, for your size? I mean, I'm not trying to be mean on the technology, but how about I'm just thinking out loud, like some of the spinal cord injury systems that support the hips. Actually, usually what they do is they support the hips, they power the hips, they power the knees, and typically they don't power the ankles. Is that of use, or do you really, are your hips okay already? So you just really need a little bit of support at the ankles and knees and ankles, just to get the.
Now, these are great questions. And, you can be open-minded to ask me anything, because I'm here to educate and share with everybody kind of like what my experience is. Biomotum was the only one that would allow for me to use their technology. So others kind of swayed away, like Rewalk and Humotech and Angel Robotics. They just didn't feel like they could secure me with my size. And I was like, but doesn't that give kind of an opportunity for you to use me as the size, and then you could have pediatrics and little people. So I'm one of those artist visionaries where no, I don't fit that size because I'm not that weight, whatever, but I am this other burst of energy, just like these, children are disabled too. And so I do have some deformity with the hips. So the hips that I have, they're not in their socket. So when you have your socket and your bone should be here, mine is actually below. So if I were to walk, which I can walk well, but I can't walk very far, it kind of walks like, I describe it as a penguin when kids are asking me, like, how do you walk? I'm like, kind of like a penguin, like I waddle a little bit and then I have to fall. So I would say, like, if there was like a perfect suit for someone that has sacral agenesis, which is what I have, it's similar to spinal bifida. I would say something that would lock in at the hips so that we do have that structure. And the ankles is also nice too, because with our club feet, we can't move our feet. So that foot plate kind of hops for us. So I would say, as an artist and a designer and an engineer, if there's a way to solve for like that missing sacrum piece where it's strong enough to hold us up and still be able to kind of move the legs, because I do have some function bending my knees, but it's not the greatest. But you more or less, I don't need to run a marathon right away, but I like to. And I do invite, other individuals that have what I have, even if the technology doesn't tell you, that it's for you. It doesn't mean that, 6 months down the road, they don't develop more and then we can reach out again. Because I don't want to call out any of these names and say like, oh, but you didn't say. But I also am like, I get it. You probably just never seen a person of my form, but use me as that research, because there are so many of us that have what I have. It's just that people haven't really touched into it. And if you think about statistics with disabled people, we're all going to get old one day. We're all going to get old and we're all going to die and we're all going to need stuff. So we're the highest consumers for shopping, right? So I don't go to the store and shop. I'm on Amazon, I'm on whatever, and I buy my stuff and it's here. And the same thing with my mobility devices. They come to my house and they hook me up, my insurance pays for it. So if the right brand kind of taps into that platform, then you're going to open up this whole world of being able to provide systems for people like me that don't have the opportunity, because people are either, I don't want to speak for them, but a lot of it sounds like fear, where they don't know how to construct something with an individual that has a missing tailbone. But let's use that as leverage. Let's make a documentary. Let's do a day-to-day. Let's talk about the engineering scopes, because I meet people all the time with my disease and they're so cool. They're like the coolest people ever. They're BMX professional. They do all, they're dancers on America's Got Talent. That is tremendous visibility, because we have this attitude where we're always trying to prove others wrong, because we just keep getting the society a better view that we look different because our legs are different and our body shape's different. A lot of individuals that have what I have, they don't have a lower body, so their feet kind of just sit right here. And so I would call myself blessed that I have a full body, even though I'm small, even though it doesn't work that well. But I'm grateful to be alive, and I'm grateful that I can have the spirit and the energy to try something, because I know other people don't have that same drive to want to try. They just want to victimize themselves and just, no, this is what the insurance says, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's cool. That's for you then. But for me, I want to keep going. I want to see what's out there, because I can visualize myself in a year or even less being able to move with more advancements, because I do reach out to other robotics companies. I am trying out and testing some of this equipment that you have to sign all these rights off, but then I get out of it and I'm just fine. And it's just amazing. But it seems like a lot of that can be like triggered by fear, which is why some brands are a little hesitant to collaborate.
Makes sense. So just to recap everything we've talked about, what I'm hearing is that you got to experience the Biomotum device at Shirley Ryan Rehabilitation Center, but you're not there yourself to do physical rehabilitation. You can use exoskeletons, and you can use any kind of device. What you have is a condition that will not change. So what you're looking for is some sort of a mobility aid that you can take home with you and use for tasks everyday living. So if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that the Biomotum device is at that point. Or have you been able to get one for yourself to use at home by any chance?
What I read from their research is you can pay a monthly retainer. Don't quote me on this because I think it might have changed, but it was around 5,000 US dollars to use the equipment at your home. So I still haven't been able to connect the dots with that team for them to approve me as a consumer because of I'm assuming my size. But if there is an advancement where they could restructure it, I could test it out, that might make sense. But I went kind of down that rabbit hole of other robotics companies and just seeing like who might have something that's more sturdy at the top. So I'm not feeling like, my body could be like kind of falling forward. Something that sort of holds me up since my limitation, which I don't really consider a limitation, but my sort of my not my strength points, my weaknesses start around my waist. So if I could find something that holds me in on those placements where my weak points are, that's what I would love to have. So the Biomotum was kind of like a jump off point, like, oh, this technology exists. So now I know my checklist of what I think I should have. So I do know they have like a in-home site program, but it's kind of costly. And so there'd be like, some of that financial burden where I'd need to get legal aid just to try this thing out. But hopefully there's like a exchange of hands with some of these other folks that I've put little buzzes in their ears and they see, this could be a great opportunity to get other individuals with unique abilities kind of in their audience as future consumers. That's kind of the hope.
So I think it's safe to say that this experience has like changed your perspective on what this technology can possibly do now and in the future with some improvements.
Yeah, it definitely has. And, as an artist, I kind of already have some things in mind where I would want, different colors and something that's like more stylized for me. Because as I'm doing my research of other robotics companies, they look I don't know how to describe this. It looks like warfare. It just looks scary. Okay, thank you. I see Tana's all about you.
I'm laughing because a lot of the exoskeletons you probably see, so I built some exoskeletons for the US Army and for the Air Force. And so I'm laughing because, yeah, they're kind of, that's where the technology, as a researcher, someone's got to pay you to do some of the research. And the good news is that the military wants the best, for their soldiers. And this is was for occupational. So like, how do you carry heavy backpacks? How do you load airplanes? How do you reduce musculoskeletal injuries? But yes, I think the other thing that I'm smiling about is I'm an engineer. I'm not an artist. And we have, lots of the companies were started by engineers. So please, and don't be afraid. So please tell us. That's why we want end users. So please tell us, the good things, and then tell us where there's some spots we need to, work better at.
And tell us about your art too. I see a few pieces behind you.
Yeah, massive. Yeah, so my background is I went to university for engineering as well. I have 3 degrees. So I went for mechanical engineering at Ferris State University. So I ran machines, I did automation, computer technology, and then I got a 2nd degree in international marketing, and then I got my 3rd degree as an abstract artist. So I'm just I'm overstimulated. I don't know how to describe it. Artists are just not normal people. We are visionaries. Not everybody can be an engineer and an artist either, because a lot of artists are really disorganized. But I've worked for some of the most mega big brands of my life because I have one of those minds that is photographic and it can remember, and I can remember everything, which is also a bad thing because I'll be like, you sent me that text message on April 1st, 10 years ago, and you said this. So, lots of relationship problems. No, I'm kidding. So I just wanted to make a good joke. So I have art all over the house, large format art. It's called expressionism. So I do abstract, and I have 34 art showcases internationally. My biggest show is in Bali. It's in Kuta, and it's in converted what used to be an airport is now a co-working space. I've got 6 here where I live in Tampa, St. Petersburg. So every time I'm going out and doing something, I try to find a reason on why I was connected there. Like, why was I in this spot, you know? And so I'll just like do like a little spiel. Oh, I'm an artist. I'm an author. I talk about disabilities and service animals and technology. And then kind of those hands sort of fold there. And so when I'm thinking visionary about these suits, I'm thinking this is like scary. This is like really ugly. I don't want to walk around in public with this big old bulky RoboCop looking thing. And I'm from Detroit, so we have a 16-foot statue of RoboCop. If anyone wants to look that up, this man created a 16-foot statue. So my friends from Detroit always joke. They're like, "Oh, you're gonna be like RoboCop of Detroit if you wear it, and people are gonna love it." And I'm like, "No, I think we can do better. I think we could like customize the shells or something, and like, it's like when you want to buy a car or boat or something and you go on these programs, the CGI or whatever it's called. I don't know the actual name of it. I should know. You could pick out customization, what I want my suit to look like. Do I want it to have cool looking, on armory? Is it going to be colored? Should it have my brand on it? Because some of them look like there's like wires on it. It looks like a bomb is about to blow off. I don't think people are going to want to walk next to me. I see Thomas loving this. But I don't want to be walking. And I know I'm the first end user to be on here, but I'm hesitant too. I don't want to walk next to you. You think I'm going to do something? I think I'm going to do something too, because this thing is also scary for me. So I'm glad that the technology is kind of getting adapted where it's looking thin enough where I could possibly put it under some like big old bell-bottom flared jeans or something, and you don't even know it's there. I mean, just see me walking kind of crazy, like poop, poop, poop. That's fine. That would be kind of fun. But right now, like if I were to look at like Humotech or Angel Robotics or the Hale, and I went to the CES show and I saw those. It's got this like, and I'm gonna say it with all honesty because I'm an honest person. It's got this like masculine vibration, and it's not meant for everybody. It's like, yeah, I'm a female. I want it to be feminine too. And so this robotic thing just kind of makes me feel like I'm jumping into like a movie or something. And I want it to be more functional and aesthetically pleasing where I am the end user and it's like fun and it's cool looking. And there's some like customizations to it. Like, you don't have to put like lights on it or anything like that. Reflectors, I'll do that. I'll decorate the lights. I'll put the beads on it. I'll make all that. But let's make it aesthetically like less scary looking, which I know it's coming.
Oh, it's really good feedback. And I think I joked around on one of the podcasts already where I worked in the shoe business, so I was doing waterproof shoes, and I was with shoemakers and designers, and we were doing. And this person told me, he's like, you don't buy a shoe when you put it on. What happens is you see the shoe, then you decide to buy it. If you put it on and it doesn't feel good, then maybe you won't buy it. But you buy the shoe for what it looks like. And so it was just interesting. He was just telling me like, because he was at the time I was working and it was actually some military waterproof shoes as well. And so at the time, we were making, probably more ugly looking waterproof boots, but we wanted them to be waterproof in that sense. So I understand. But no, that's great feedback. What else could you tell? What else do you think the industry needs?
Yeah, if I could just give my wish list, I would say, after going to CES and seeing this technology, and then after going to the Abilities Expo, because I'm a part of that world too with persons with disabilities, I see that everything kind of looks, the way that they put it up and they format it, it kind of looks really robotic and AI, and it gives kind of sort of a scary vibration in the beginning because it's big, it's bulky, it's heavy. If there's a way to kind of get that bridge across, like, yes, this is a machine looking device that you're going to wear, but have some stories to it, like have actual content that people are using it in the day to day. Because as I'm doing my research, I do see these like magazine looking style covers, but I've never been able to see like a person do a full here's what I do with it during my day. Here's how I could get out of it in the bed. Here's how I could do like basic need use cases. A lot of it's been like stock looking photos. So when I'm trying to envision myself as the end user to put it on and paint, maybe that would be kind of fun. I just can't do it because I keep putting myself in this. Well, I only see this person sitting on the stair with the machine on, but or it's a photoshopped image where it's like the person is walking, but it's photoshopped, so it's not the actual person walking. When I'm searching exoskeleton suits on YouTube, my videos are coming up the most, and I only wore it for a couple hours. So I just feel like we need to have some more of that rich content where it's actually in the wild, because it's just so, the formality of it seems like I don't want to say I'm going to say it. It's like tone deaf. Some of these brands are a little bit tone deaf on what the end user wants to see and needs to see, because we're the ones that have the disability. We're the ones that have the limitations. And the other side of it just makes it seem like it's almost like maybe gate kept in a bit, because it only appears to be for like a certain style of a person and not for like a broad range of unique peoples, because I don't see people like me wearing it. And so when like, for example, when I'm writing my children's books and I'm writing them about persons with disabilities, I always look at children like, okay, children want to see them out there in the world. They will be able to resonate with them when they see someone like them in this book. So exoskeleton suits need to do the same thing. They need to think about the average Jane or a college person or an entrepreneur person or a worker, because we all have different levels in our life. And it's like we're not encompassing all of that. But there's, dozens, if not hundreds, of these exoskeleton suits out there. So maybe there is a one for all that's doing that. But in my last 10 years of research, I've just noticed a lot of it is like award driven, or we're the best at this, or we're the cyber ethereal award people. But it's not like, I'm an end user, I'm disabled. How can I get in touch with you for me to touch this technology? It just seems like the period of doing that is long. It's like months, if not a year, or not at all. So there's a lot of touching points where we need people to kind of, if we're reaching out, reach back, because we'll go to somebody else if we don't hear from you, kind of situation.
Yeah, so I'm grinning a little bit like an idiot here because I just can't believe how lucky we are to have you on this podcast. And I want to emphasize that I have not coached any of these responses, because it has taken me years of going to exoskeleton conferences and events and talking to people to come to these same conclusions. What is well documented, that exoskeleton technology takes a really long time to leave the lab and be tested against actual intended end users, and that there's friction between the design intent and the feedback from the end users. For years, I've been told that they're not aesthetically pleasing. And I've seen it, and I've commented myself with companies as well, that some devices are set up to look really good at CES, like where you have the lights, you have the cameras, you glitz, and that it will not survive 10 minutes in the intended use case scenario. Just the materials are all wrong, the surface finishes are all wrong. This is not the way to do it. And you mentioned yourself all of the degrees that you've had. When I used to work in industry, I've always struggled with the marketing brochures that our own company would come up, where you look at it, the machine isn't set up properly. It is turned off, wiring, the tubing, the peripherals are not connected properly or not connected at all. And the people in the picture are not wearing the proper gear, safety equipment to be running this machine. So I'm like, who is this advertisement for? This is a joke. Like, anyone that is supposed to be running this equipment will see straight through it immediately. And at a minimum, at a subconscious level, it turns off the user. So I cannot thank you enough for taking the time, for coming here, for telling us these things that we know but are not commonly discussed.
And I'm happy that you're okay with me just being transparent, because it is like knocking on doors all the time and giving free advice and free feedback. And, I am a transparent woman where I'm just like, here's what I think would be the best way to approach people in my situation. Because again, we're the end user and it's like the dots are not connecting. It's like the bulbs are not turning on. And so I'm happy that you echoed that. And it's not just my experience. It seems like an overall industry kind of situation where they're all still in the lab trying to get the best thing out there and they're rushing it and then they're putting it out there. And then when the end user comes around and it's all looking photos, I'm like, this is way too stack. You need to have a personal touch, not just that artist touch, but just like that human touch of get someone that's in a chair, get someone that uses crutches, get someone that's an amputee, try out different levels of limitations, and then come to the conclusion before you present it at the conferences. But again, I'm not the expert here. I just know, from trying it once and doing my own research, like what I think would work best for the overall individuals with persons with disabilities. So I'm happy to like get those hard questions to make the industry change.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that then it would be remiss for me not to give a shout out to the student competitions like the Cybathlon that you mentioned, the ASTM Exo Games, the ACE competition, where they are trying to do that. They're trying to get the students to build prototypes and have them tested against real world like simulated conditions. Not exactly what we're talking about, but at least it's getting it closer. I've been to an event where within the first 10 minutes, every single competitor's exoskeleton broke. And they're like, yeah, we knew what the design of the competition would be, but we never actually tested that range of motion. And then there's also just one mod from Japan, the Toyota Mobility Challenge. They have a see-through plexiglass one-bedroom apartment, and they have set 7 or 8 tasks of everyday living, and they're inviting exoskeleton companies to do those while being evaluated and make that connection between, okay, this is a structured simulation of real world tasks. Let's get your devices in the hands of potential users. So, and for everyone who's interested on the occupational side, occupational, military, consumer exoskeletons, we're hearing exactly the same feedback. It's all the same. It's all interconnected. It's one field, one technology, and we're all humans at the end of the day trying to figure out how to use it. Well, wow, thanks. Thank you so much for sharing those experiences and those impressions with us.
Yeah. And we need more ladies on the line. I'll say it again. We need more ladies up here. All of these websites are all men in masculine looking scary robot suits. We need that ladies touch because the ladies will see things that the men do not. And that's vice versa. Men see things that women do not. We got to have that ladies touch because I think that will soften it up and it won't scare people to want to try the technology. Because right now, some people are like hesitant because this thing looks like a bomb. But if it looks a little bit more calm and cool and edgy, make a little customization thing. You go online, gamers, they like click all the things that they want to create with their little avatar online. Why can't that be for exoskeleton suits? I want a pink suit. I want a blue suit. I want this suit. We can make walking fun. And that can be why people want to try it. They won't be scared. They won't be in fear of doing this technology because we're making their experience fun. And I can't strive to say how important it is to have unique minds on there. Ladies, different people with different unique walking patterns. I mean, these are all of those touching points so that we can come to a universal suit so that you can't get everybody. That's just impossible. I've learned that in life. You can't help everybody, but we can try to throw that net in the ocean and try to bring as many fish as we can back, and then get as much as we can. I'm in Florida, so I see a fishing boat here, and that's what made me think of that. So, we can work on that. I'm sorry. I'm a witty person. I'm always in a good mood.
No, I've said this to a bunch of people too. Bobby and I have talked about where for some people, I'll just use some names, for some people, a Nike shoe fits perfectly. For some people, an Adidas shoe fits perfectly. For some people, Saucony, fits really nice or something like that. So there's always going to be some, there's going to be different things that fit people differently. We've said this once before. Once it would be great, like a truck would pull up and you try on some different exoskeletons, see which ones you like or what fits you best, and try to work in that area. I don't know. Maybe one more question for me. Have you ever thought about, instead of just the powered ones, but how about like kind of some more of the passive? This is just an engineer, because I'm thinking as an engineer. Some of the passive bracing. So, like some bracing that kind of helps your core. There must be some things out there already. I'm thinking out loud, like there must be some prosthetic systems and that kind of thing that can kind of strap around and help the core, just because you were saying I need strength ankles and I need strength of the core. And I'm just thinking about like some of those, bracings. I'm thinking, Bobby, like I'll use one name, the JPET system, that kind of strengthens the core, things like that. Have you ever thought of that to try out?
I think your energy was reading my mind, because that was going to be one of my next like touching points on like what could be useful, is like incorporating prosthetics, because not, I'm strong. I can be strong up here, but lower body doesn't always have that strength. If there's a way to have a prosthetic with the suit and is customized, could that help me move versus just putting the suit on? Could I have something also built around, and I could be, Batman at night with my big suit on, and then normal person by day without it, right? And I think that could be useful. I've tapped on a couple prosthetics companies when I was in Los Angeles 2 weeks ago at the Abilities Expo. Like, hey, do you have something like I can wear that can hold me up? And then I put on some other things, because I wanted to sort of cross both of these worlds at some. Maybe I'm wearing everyone's stuff. Maybe I'm wearing that person's brand and that person's brand. All of a sudden, I'm flying out of here with a jetpack on. Who knows? But I'm open to it. If it helps people walk, I'm happy to be that person to test it out, because I have more faith than fear. So I do think a prosthetic could be a simple solution for some of these exoskeleton suits that might not hold you in. Maybe we could build a little prosthetic or a strap or something and continue to develop it. And, maybe the three of us should just put our little minds together and make our own suit,
No, I don't know. Don't give Tom ideas. He's already built enough. He's even made a jetpack, because every time you say a strap-on jetpack,
So I made it just so people run faster. So if you go check it out, he joked around that it went viral at the time, and then it got over like 3 million hits. It was funny. My student ended up on like Good Morning America. They called him up, and then anyway, it was just a lot of fun. And
That's awesome.
but so we did make a jetpack for just running fast. The interesting thing about it was the jetpack worked perfectly for running, because it just really helped you run because of the kinetic energy and potential energy in the same pattern. But for walking, it's kind of back and forth, as you said. And so the jetpack actually wasn't very good for walking, to be honest.
For walking.
But
I love the technology, and you are an outside of the box thinker. I'm going to check it out. Good Morning America, fastest running. I created a crutch. It's a 3D printed crutch, and I end up having it patent pending. So it's got like an aesthetic looking handle instead of these like hospital looking ones. It had like a twist handle, and it was 3D printed at the bottom. And then the bottom piece of it would like swivel, so I could like go up a mountain if I wanted to. And the technology, the persons that I worked with, is called Mirari. They're in Metro Detroit. We had an idea where we used AI or biometrics, where it just scans your body, and then it knows what your measurements need to be for the crutch, and then it would just pop that crutch out for you. And I wanted to get that off the ground, but there was a ton of FDA stuff that was going on. It just was too complicated. I was like, you know what? The crutch is just for me for right now. But that could be a fun avenue for exoskeletons, where you talked about having like a van or a semi or something pull up. I would want a semi full of suits. And then you walk in, and then they like dress you up, and they scan you, and they know exactly what you need. And maybe the suit is built for you or it's shipped to you or something, and then it's customized because everyone's body shapes are different. But I think we're on to something.
Yeah, right. But you did say one thing important, which is, and I don't want to give them a hard time, but there's a lot. So I had worked on some prosthetic ankle work for about 8 to 10 years, and there's a lot of time and effort to get the FDA approvals. And so what happened was exoskeletons at one point were, people don't quote me on this, make sure you do your due diligence, but were kind of FDA class 1, and then if they were powered, they started to become higher classes, and then there's a lot of issues. And so I think we said this already on a previous podcast, so I'm going to say it again, that talking to people that getting old is not a disease or and so can you just design exoskeletons for mobility as you get older? Because I have been in some assisted living and independent living places, and there's a lot of need for mobility. Because like if you don't get out there and exercise, it's your body just can deteriorate, right? And so anyway, it's just interesting is that what I'm trying to get at is if you have an exoskeleton that solves a medical need or niche, you need FDA approval. But I think that just building exoskeletons to help people that are elderly or a little bit frail, you don't. And certainly you don't need FDA approval for the occupational exoskeletons. But again, any company out there, please, do your due diligence and work with people. But it's tricky. And that's part of the reason why you named the things out there. Like, it's really hard to get devices to fit people. It's really hard to get devices to be comfortable. The devices are heavy and bulky, as you explained. They're not good looking. And then lastly, do we need FDA approval? So it's a tricky industry. But the need is there, like mobility. It's just there, right? If you can't walk, it's a problem, and we're all not going to be able to walk, right, when we go to older, right? And there's those cartoons where you start off, on your knees and hands, then you start off on 2 feet, then you go back to, a cane, right? If you see, there's some cartoons that show the progression of all of us.
Yeah, absolutely. We're all going to get older one day.
Yeah. I'm really hoping the audience enjoys this because you're our first end user.
See, I
Can
count
you
the number
see
of
what I
cups.
mean?
Yes, cut that out.
We need more ladies.
So we do need more ladies, and we were talking back and forth, Carl. I was quoting companies where they have pictures of the company team, and there is not a single there's not a single woman on the team. Even in some other places, we have discussed the idea that you need to be an engineer to work on exoskeletons, and that's not the case. We don't need just engineers. We need everyone. We need psychologists, anthropologists, we need artists, we need designers. We need to have that full complement of skills and points of views. And the exoskeleton industry has been very heavily engineering focused. And I think that you not having your mechanical engineering degree probably would have been an obstacle if you didn't have that to be willing to give it a try too.
Right. That's why I was like, this is cool. Let's do it. Some of the things that I was working on in my university degree doesn't exist anymore. Pre-presses and printing machines. So my degree is just like kind of gone now because everything's turned digital. And it's the same where the more we continue using this technology and trying it out, and I'll send the two of you like a WeTransfer of the content if you want to add it to the podcast in any capacity. So folks can see me wearing it. I do see there's a future for me to continue, being bold, being strength enough. Like I don't have fear in trying out this technology because when I was born completely immobile from my chin down. So I was in a wheelchair with full body braces. So I had to go to physical therapy twice a day as a child, as a kindergartner. So I grew into this strength of this person because my mind would say, no, you're not in pain. This is just the fact of life. So I would meditate and I would pray and I would turn that pain into healing with art. So I would create. And I also have sobriety. So I'm on a whole different level of awareness. So when something feels like it's hurting me or it's hard to do this walking, it's not. For me, I'm just like, pain makes me feel like I'm alive. And so when I am using these equipments and everything, might be hard. It might be challenging the next day. I might have pinched nerves all the way at the top to the bottom. But I welcome those emotions because I'm like, this is cool. I feel this way. Yeah, but it's not going to be forever. And I got to try something that was really amazing. And maybe I get to do it again. So I always use these little memories as opportunities of being like, yeah, I did go through that thing, but that was really cool and it was really fun and I would do it again. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. What a journey of resilience.
Yeah, I'm a fun artist because, people will try to cyberbully me online because I'm disabled and I do all of these things. I travel, I wear technology, and I get all types of comments. I get the good, I get the bad, and I get the ones of what I call people bored. They're bored, so they want to attack me. And that's okay because not everybody has that same perception on why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. And I also find that people watch my videos of me more in pain. And I used to think they want to watch it because they want to see me in pain. But then another person said, no, they like watching you because of how much strength you have when you're going through it. So every single person I've ever kind of crossed paths with, they shaped my perception on my journey. And that's helped me kind of understand more about who I am and why I'm the way I am and why I have my podcasts and my books. And I'm just a person here, just like everybody else. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. And I want to make sure that the journeys and the stories that I'm leaving with people are going to help them because my industry and who I am, it's people that have underrated voices and they need somebody like me to be like, nope, that's not how it's going to go. Because people don't like to have confrontation, and I don't call it confrontation. I'm from Detroit. It's a rough place. This is just how we talk. And so when someone says to me, I want your feedback, I wanted it, don't you want me to give you the most honest feedback ever so that you know what people are really doing? And then that's what I would want in return for me as well. And so I welcome those types of feedbacks and emotions. I do. I like it because it reminds me that not everybody has that same point of view as you. So you have to be open-minded for everybody else to kind of give you some awareness on that.
And you mentioned your podcast and books. How can people find that?
My website is my first and last name, melissadivietri.com. And so I've created a children's book. It's a coloring book, and it's on service animals, like the do's and the don'ts, children and how to be compassionate and kindness. Don't just go up to the service animal. You got to ask because it's a working dog. So I go under the name Blue Eye Queen because I work in crypto. So I work in Web3. And we all use aliases. That's just a part of the Web3 culture. It's like if you're a gamer, and I know, Bobby, you kind of mentioned this before, it's your gaming name, essentially, right? And I don't know, Thomas, do you have a gaming name? You probably like Jetpack Tommy or something.
No, that's a good one. But we've joking around. Because of my last name, I've had a lot of...
Oh, Suggar. Okay. I didn't even catch that one until you said, shoot. All right, well, Sugar Daddy Jetpack Tommy, that will be you. And then I'm Blue Eye Queen. So I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram. Actually, my platform is on Twitch, LinkedIn, YouTube. I have over 1 million unique views a month across my streams. So, and it's all organic. I don't do anything paid. I just use a bunch of bots. And those bots repurpose my content and they use AI to make titles. I have like a whole system in the background where it looks like I'm online, but it's not. It's called a digital twin. So my digital twin is posting for me. And, that took a few years of actually getting to the point that I want it to be at. But people love it. I get comments all the time where parents are saying, you legit lit up that little boy's eyes when you let him hold your service animal. You could tell he needed that. So people feel the emotion because I'm so raw and I just am who I am. And if you don't like it, then go that way. So I can go that way. And so I think that not everyone's used to having energy like that, right?
No, especially engineers in general tend to sometimes have a challenging time with being challenged.
Yeah. Very tunnel vision. Like there's horse blinders on. And I'm like, okay, take them off. Because this is the whole world. There's a world out here. And we gotta focus on it. Not just this one, but this one. Yeah.
And I think that we are entering an age of consultants, exoskeleton consultants, exoskeleton integrators. So going beyond, or even distributors, where it's not everything has been on the shoulder of the producer company until now. It's like a one-man industry show made out of 150 entities. And now I think we're starting to see help arrive from different points of view, from different sides.
Yeah, and I'd love to be one of those voices, as an end user and as an engineer and as an artist. I kind of have that trio where I can see things in this way, and was born like this, and I'm also a motivational speaker, and I do TEDx keynotes. I'm the closer, and I talk about emotional intelligence. I know what people are going to feel when they're wearing that. I know what marketing you need for them to not be scared, for them to reach out to you. So I welcome and I invite any exoskeleton brands. Like I've been knocking on doors and those doors aren't opening yet for me. And I think it's a sentiment across the standard of this industry where they're so in that tunnel vision of they're on the right track and they got it going on. But then when it gets out of that lab and it gets over there, you don't even see a version 2 of it. So I just think that we need to kind of step back and think about the focal point. Do we want this to last? And if we do, we got to have like real people with real scenarios trying it out and then using their audience like in their platforms to speak to the people. Because if you're already using your exoskeleton platform and you're at this conference, those people already know you. You need fresh minds. You need other people that don't. Yeah, we all know you. We all know you. It's a small table and we're all sitting and eating at the same table. So let's try to make it bigger so that others can be, welcomed at this presence, I think that's the way to go.
Kind of start to ending our conversation is we need a bigger table.
We need a bigger table.
We do.
And put some money away for consulting, be open to external opinions. We
agreed. Because it seems very tight.
Yes, it is.
It seems tight, and I'm an end user. I'm not even there. I'm just knocking. It's like, open the door, please.
That's very accurate representation of the current situation.
Yeah, and on the head. I'll be the one.
Any closing remarks?
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me here. This was so fun and refreshing to be able to meet with two professionals in this industry and talk about my experience, but also kind of shine light to others that have unique abilities. They use devices. The technology is coming. I'd like to be able to serve this interview as a chance to share out to others so that they know that it's coming. It's there. It's present. You can go to the different conferences. I know that there's a few this year that are happening. I always invite people to go to CES in Las Vegas because they do a really good job with that. But if I had to be on the other end of this and I'm an audience listener, just go online, go to the exoskeleton report or also go into searching just basic Google and just do your own research, because the best way for you to learn is just to spend a little bit of time each day and figuring out what everyone is doing. I made a spreadsheet of all the people that I reached out to, of all of the things that I liked for each one. And then I started kind of going down the rabbit hole of reaching out and then what their responses are. And again, like you might hear no, or you might not hear anything at all, which is kind of most of it. But that doesn't mean that it's like a no, not now. Just try again in a couple weeks. Everyone's working, things get kind of lost in the sauce, and the right opportunities will happen for you, just like this one did. And I know that there will be more things, blessings and abundance coming our way because we're giving people perception and we're giving that end user feedback, which I think will carry and go very far. So appreciate letting me come on here and share my personal opinions.
Thank you for taking the time. We were very lucky to have you.
I love that. Very nice.
Tom, anything else from you?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was fun. Bobby, sometimes you end with something. I'd like to thank our sponsors, or no? Thank you for listening to Exoskeleton, the podcast.
Thanks everyone for tuning in on our latest episode of the Exoskeletons and Wearable Robotics podcast. Please consider donating on Patreon if you enjoyed this content. Visit the Exoskeleton Report, the Wearable Robotics Association, and Melissa DiVierti's podcast and website too. All the links are in the description below. Ciao.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Awesome. See, this is teamwork.
How did we do?
It was fun.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.